What's up guys, my name is Julie and this is the Curated Curvy, where I bring you along for the journey as I attempt to create the curated wardrobe of my dreams with these two hands. Today I have for you all a pattern haul video. I have been doing quite a bit of pattern shopping lately. I laugh because my pattern collection is ever growing, and I remember when I started sewing there was like this running joke in the sewing community that fabric buying and pattern buying and sewing are actually three very different things, and like a year and a half deep into this, I definitely understand that. A lot of these patterns are fall attire appropriate because that is the season that we're coming up on, and so I try to like buy what is inspiring me in season, although there's no chance that I'm going to sew all of these patterns. A lot of these patterns will be put away until next year, and it is what it is. You know, if you're a seamstress, then you know. If you know, then you know. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. So the way that I'm gonna organize this is just by pattern company and then vintage patterns at the end, because that is just the easiest for me to wrap my mind around. We are going to start with Simplicity, as that is the chunkiest stack of patterns that I have. I do live in the United States, quick disclaimer, and here we have a Joann's, which puts all of the big 4 patterns on sale for $1.99 literally every week. So it's very hard for these pattern collections not to grow. I mean, it takes a lot of discipline, and I am still developing in that area, if you know what I mean. All right, so first I have Simplicity 8956. This is a pants pattern. It is super cute. I really like the detail on the top of the pants. I like that they're high-waisted. I like that little dip. I feel like it makes it pretty special. This pattern also comes with 2 skirt options. Both of them look like pencil skirts, which I don't really wear because, I mean, we got hips for days over here, and sometimes pencil skirts and me, we don't mesh well. But they're in here if you're interested. I was interested in sewing up view 8 of this pattern until I got home and I looked at the back of the envelope and I realized that this pattern only goes up to a size 20. Now what I know about Big 4 is that they do include a lot of ease in their pattern, but I don't know how that works with the hips. Like, I can fudge it with a dress because usually there's an excessive amount of fabric that goes over the hips. I don't know if I can fudge it with a pair of pants. Slightly disappointed about that. So these will probably definitely just be put to the side for a little while until I muster up the want to get into figuring out whether or not these would actually fit me. All right, next, this was from their latest fall release, and this is Simplicity 9639. This dress is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, look at that. Look at that. It is so feminine and so romantic, and I love everything about it. However, it is a fabric hungry beast of a pattern. View B calls for, let's get this right, I would need a size 18 for this. So for view B, it is 5.5 yards of fabric. Yeah, that's a lot. I probably will end up sewing view C of this pattern. And view C calls for, I want to say, about 4 yards of fabric. It calls for 3.5 yards of fabric, which is, it's a little bit more doable, but this is absolutely gorgeous and something I am very excited to sew up. And next is a Mommy and Me pattern, Simplicity 9653. Mommy is definitely going to make this pattern. I don't know if the little version of me would be in for it, but I'll keep you guys posted on that. This is dubbed their Prairie Dress, and it's one of the first Mommy and Me patterns that they've released where they go up to a size XL, because I have been eyeing a few of their Mommy and Me patterns that they've released prior to, and all of those usually end at about a size large. So I'm very excited about this one. Honestly, I'm excited for me, and if the little wants to get in on it, I'm excited for her too. Next we have Simplicity 9641. The line drawings on this pattern just give me life. Like, they are so good. I cannot wait to sew this up in a denim. This is one of those patterns that is probably going to be a lot easier to complete than it looks. I probably will sew a mock-up just to test out that theory, because I don't want to cut into my denim and then this turn out to be an ultimate disaster, because my denim is probably one of the most expensive fabrics in my fabric stash, so I definitely want to take more care and more attention. Also, side note, could you imagine this? I don't know what you could imagine this in. I was gonna say, could you imagine it in a wool, but I think that might be too much. But what if it's like not like a super thick wool and then just lined with like something like light and nice? I don't know. How does top stitching wool go? I don't know, but I'm excited about this pattern. I absolutely love it. I think the line drawings on it are amazing. Simplicity was a little extra with the pattern description. They said a corset style dress, and I'm like, ma'am, just because you have like 10 panels in it doesn't make it a corset style dress, because I think one of the key components of corsetry is the fact that it is fitted to one's body, and this is anything but fitted, but we'll give them that. We'll let them have that. All right, so that is Simplicity 9641. Let's look at what we have next. All right, next we have Simplicity 9642. And as I mentioned in my Friday Sews videos, which if you haven't seen, I will link a playlist right there for you. But there is a dress that I pinned on my Pinterest board that is insanely similar to this dress right here. And so this is definitely one of the things that I do want to sew up to create my ultimate romantic fall wardrobe, which I will start one day. Hopefully one day soon. And next we have Simplicity 9463 from your girl Mimi G. I mean, this is cute. Kittenish behavior was a few weeks ago, or a few months ago, I don't know. Time is time, y'all. It be coming and it be going. But on one of her videos, she was recreating a Zimmerman inspired dress. And this dress, if you see, looks almost exactly like the dress that she was trying to recreate. And I really did enjoy that series, and I like the final dress. And so when I saw this pattern, I went ahead and I picked it up. Yeah, and we'll see what comes of it. You know, if I do sew it up, I would want to sew up a view B of this dress with the little peplum ruffle on the bottom. I think it's really fun, has a lot of really cool details, probably a little bit more challenging than or probably a little bit more challenging for me and the skill set that I currently possess, but we're all about growth, right? We got to continue to stretch ourselves, or at least that's what the people say. Next we have Simplicity 80, Simplicity something. We have Simplicity 8811, and this is a cardigan pattern. I currently have a tried and true cardigan pattern. I am wearing it right now. I've sewn it in quite a few iterations, but I'm always just on the lookout for a good cardigan pattern, because when it comes to fall, where I live, it doesn't necessarily get like insanely cold. It's like cold in the morning, warm in the evening. So I don't need a coat, but I do need a lot of cardigans. So yeah, I'm interested in trying this out and seeing if it could, you know, if it could give my tried and true cardigan pattern a run for its money. Lastly, we have Simplicity 9539. This is another Mimi G dress pattern, and it is just so sleek and so sophisticated. I feel like if I wore a dress like this, people would look at me and they'd be like, yeah, that's a real adult right there, you know? And that's the goal, right? Adulting. That's what we're all trying to do. So yeah, I really do like this pattern. This pattern just comes with two views, the long sleeve and the short sleeve. It also reminds me a lot of the Sewing by Mason dress that she had released recently, which I absolutely love that pattern as well. So when I saw this, I figured I could test out this pattern because it is relatively affordable, and if I like the way that the garment fits me, then I'll invest in the Sewing by Mason pattern. And next we have a short stack of Vogue patterns here. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first one is Vogue 1912. This is the recent Rachel Comey release. Again, I talked about this pattern in my Friday Sews video, but basically I love Rachel Comey's designs. I think they're just so sophisticated, and they always just, they're like a fun twist on a classic silhouette. But because of that twist, I'm usually scared that I don't again have the technique or the skill set necessary to like finish off these techniques in a way that looks seamless. And I know that I need to get over that. I continue to buy her patterns because, as I said, I love her designs. I do think there's a good chance of me attempting to sew this one up, because I feel like even though it's a shorts pattern, I wear a lot of Doc Martens, which are like these really thick, chunky, like combat style boots. And I could imagine this with like some thick black tights and my black Doc Martens. I feel like that'd be just such a cool look for the fall, like a little side curve to like my usual dresses, a very feminine aesthetic. And so I'm very interested in trying out this pattern. It's not a lot of views on it. You just get the top and you get the bottom, A and B. She likes to keep it simple. I am here for it. We'll see if I actually get around to sewing it out. Next we have Vogue 1914, and I am definitely gonna get around to sewing this one up. This is a loungewear set. It is absolutely gorgeous. View A has a crop sweater, and then B has a asymmetrical sweater. If you actually look at the line drawings for B, you see that there are a lot of really fun, funky lines, and the design is a very like intricate pattern, something that I feel like just takes your loungewear up a notch. I personally am not a fan of loungewear. I like to kind of I like to be dressed and wear lots of like fancy and frilly things, but when we get into the fall, I notice that I lean a lot more towards like sweater knits and cozy fabrics and warmer tones. So I feel like this would be something that I would definitely sew up and wear quite a bit. Next we have Vogue 1643. This is an old release, and y'all, I have gone to 3 different Joannes to try and get my hands on this pattern, and I finally found it while it was on sale, and I was so incredibly happy. There is a dress by a designer, I want to say it's like Raisa Vanessa. I could be saying that wrong, I could have the name completely wrong, but I'll pop it up for you. I saw this dress about a year ago, or it's like a coat dress, and I was absolutely smitten with it, and I was on the hunt for a pattern that would allow me to recreate this, and I could not find it. And then I came across this, and I was like, this is actually absolutely perfect to recreate that dress. And then my Joann's and the next Joann's nearest to me was out of the pattern, and so I went to a third Joann's in an entire city over from me, and I found it. Will I make this dress this year? Probably not, because I have a lot of things I already want to make, but I'm happy to have the pattern finally in my stash. Next is Vogue 1726, and lastly, I have been looking for a pattern for some wide leg jeans. Right now, as you know, skinny jeans are out the window. They are banished until the next big fashion cycle, and wide leg jeans are back, people. They're making a comeback, but don't call it a comeback. I need water. Okay, so yeah, I've been looking for a pattern for some nice wide leg jeans for a while, and this is yet again another pattern that had come on like my radar when I was searching for those, and was completely out of stock in my Joann's. And apparently I don't think my Joann's has any intention of restocking the old patterns, so I tried my luck again in that other Joann's one city over from me, and sure enough I found it, and this is Vogue 1644. It is a really nice looking pants, and I've seen a few people, I searched it up, and I searched up the hashtag on Instagram, and I saw a few people who made this pattern up, and they look like a really nice pair of pants. I know they are going to require a bit of fitting, but this is definitely one of the things that I have on my plans to sew, not in the fall, but in the winter. And that is it for Vogue patterns. The next set of patterns that I have to show you are my Butterick patterns. The first one is Butterick 6702, which is a relatively popular pattern. Tomcat Stitchery actually has a sew along for this pattern, and that is what put it on my radar, because I mean, she makes everything look good, right? Like, that's just kind of what she does. So I had been wanting a shirt dress pattern for a while, and I think this is the perfect one. I also been wanting a shirt dress pattern with a handkerchief hem. I think it would be really fun and like a crepe. I love a good crepe, especially in the winter, because it's polyester, and you know polyester likes to hold in that body heat for you and not let it go anywhere. And so I want to find a nice crepe to recreate this dress. Again, it's not something that's like on my radar right now, but it's definitely something that I'm interested in doing in the near future, as in like next year. Next is Butterick 6300. This is a robe pattern, and it also has a dress that is literally the same like line drawings or configuration as the robe. When I picked this up initially, I was looking for a robe because I have a robe, but it's been worn to pieces, literally. And so it is time to replace it, and I feel like I'm at the point in my sewing journey where I can recreate something like that for myself out of fabrics that I already have in my stash. However, I did not look close enough, and this entire front is closed via snaps. So the entire line here going all the way down, there are snaps put into it, and for me that's incredibly unrealistic. I am a little disappointed by that. However, I think that the house dress version would still be really comfortable, especially in the colder months, and those snaps wouldn't bother me at all. So I'm gonna pick this one up, not knowing all of that information. All right, next I have Butterick 6721, and this is a women's jacket pattern. This pattern was designed by Connie Crawford, as was this robe pattern, and what I've noticed from her is that she is very size inclusive in her patterns with Butterick, and so she'll usually have a very wide size range, and if I'm not mistaken, all of the sizes are included in the envelope. They're not. I'm glad I got the right size, because that would have been disappointing. So all sizes are not included in the envelope, but she does have a very expansive size, and I think because she's drafting with a larger size range in mind, it would be better suited for me and my body type, because I am not like your generic like straight size, like whatever the case may be. So yeah, pick this one up. I really like the collar detail on the jacket. It's not a lot of views in this. I mean, their jackets are basically the same. They're literally the same. So that's just the line drawing, and that's the jacket on her. But I mean, again, get into that collar. That's pretty spectacular. I also like that the sleeve isn't tight fitted, like a straight sleeve, because I find that in the colder months, all of my dresses, I like to put like big puffy sleeves on. And so trying to fit my big puffy sleeve into a tailored straight sleeve just isn't where it's at. Last we have Butterick 5617. This is probably my only impulsive buy of all of my pattern purchases. Again, even though I may not be like ready to sew up all of these patterns within the next like 4 to 5 months, they are things that I would eventually like to sew that I feel like could fit my style very easily. I don't know, I saw this pattern and again, I just really like the collar. I really like the pockets, but there's a lot about it that I would want to change. This is Butterick 5617. Like I said, there's a lot about it that I would want to change, and I feel like that would require a certain level of work that I don't know that I'm willing to put in right now. So I think honestly what I'm gonna do is go ahead and list this on my neighborhood Facebook page and see if there's anybody in the neighborhood that is interested in this pattern and just pass it along to them for free instead of hoarding it in my stash, knowing very well that I impulsively bought it and most likely am not gonna sew it. Next, I have McCall patterns for you, and I only have 4 of these patterns. This first one is McCall's 7472, and what inspired me by this was I was watching a video by Fatmata from Traditionally Inspired Meaningful Art and her YouTube channel, and she did an iteration of this dress that was just like mind-blowing. And I remembered when she showed the pattern envelope that I had seen the pattern before when I was flipping through the pattern books. So the next McCall sale, I made sure that I added this to my list, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna look at her video again just to get a good idea of how she put together her dress, and then try and recreate something similar to that, because it was long and it was flowy and it was just quite glorious, and I definitely could see myself creating something like that. So this was another YouTuber inspired pattern purchase. Next I have McCall's 7561. This is a really nice knit dress pattern, and I feel like it would be perfect for fall. I think it will also be really easy to put together, and the back on view A of the back and view C, look at that scoops like the back neckline and how it scoops in like that. I think that is just so sweet and so special. This is a pattern that I probably will try and get sewn up at some point, because I think it would be a really quick sew and it'd be very satisfying. And I'm always looking for like those super quick projects to like fill in the time when I don't have a lot of time to sew. I do like to have a quick sewing project that I can just like pull out and whip up in a few hours and scratch that itch of wanting to make something without committing to a longer process project. Next we have McCall's 8032, and this has been on my radar for quite some time. This was another pattern that I think was just sold out in my size at my Joann's for quite a while. This pattern was really popular like last year around this time. And there's also a brand, I want to say The Vampire's Wife, who has a dress on her lines that is very similar to this guy right here. And so I've been wanting to get my hands on this for a long time. Finally got it, very excited. And I think this would be absolutely spectacular in corduroy. Last year I had a great time sewing up like regular dresses in like a thick corduroy fabric. It was just like really unexpected, but very warm and very cozy and just like really fun. So I want to sew this one up in a corduroy. Again, this might be a winter project as my fall project list is pretty full at the moment. And lastly from McCall's, I have 7960 for you. This pattern, and purchasing this, I broke one of my cardinal rules, which is I try not to buy a pattern that has multiple views and I'm only interested in one view. But for this pattern, I didn't care because I really wanted like this idea of a pattern. And the view that I am interested in most is view D. Look at that skirt. Like that would be the perfect simple fall skirt if you can get the fit right. I imagine that this doesn't have a lot of pieces. It doesn't have a lot of closures as it is a wrap front skirt. And so if I can get the fitting of the waistband correct, this could easily be a go-to for my fall sewing wardrobe. All right, and last I have a few vintage patterns that I picked up. I like to go onto eBay and just see what vintage patterns are out there in my size. And every once in a while, I'll snag one up if it really speaks to me. These 3, I only have the envelope to show you. As with my vintage patterns, I do try to, as quickly as I can, put them away to preserve them because, you know, they are very old patterns and they are more prone to wear and tear. So the last 2 I haven't had a chance to put away. These just came in the mail a few days ago. So yeah, let's get into it. The first one I have is McCall's 2056, which was later rebranded, I want to say, as McCall's 5272, and was again rebranded and is still in print present day as another number. I'm pretty sure this is a costume pattern, but hear me out. This view right here, what view is that? View D? View D's a look, okay? Like that's I could make that a fall dress and like wear the heck out of that dress. with like no hesitation. So that is why I bought this, not for the costume effect, but literally because VD is quite spectacular and I would love to make up a dress like that to just like swish around the house in. The next one I have is McCall's 3716, and this is a corduroy pinafore dress pattern. This also I believe only has one, or not also, this just only has one view, but it is really cute. And I feel like with just, I mean, it gives you fall vibes. I think that's why I bought it when I was like looking on the internet. Like this screams fall to me. And it is definitely something that I could see myself making. And it also has like a very like thin pin tuck on the bodice. Let me back out for you if you can see that. Just really cute. I like it a lot. All right, next is Simplicity 8835, and this is a off the shoulder dress pattern, but you can see right in these two versions, it can easily be pulled on the shoulder, and I think it's really cute. And again, very fall appropriate for those days where it's not like freezing cold, but it's cool outside, just to have a long sleeve blouse. I like the feminine details of it, the flounce over the neckline. It spoke to me. Awkward outfit change. So I was down to showing you the last pattern and my camera overheated. So I had to allow my camera to cool down, took some time away, decided to take some pictures for another video, and alas, here we are. So yes, awkward outfit change. We're gonna finish anyway. So I believe the last pattern that I wanted to show you was McCall's 6618. This is another vintage pattern, and again, if this is not giving like a dramatic fall romance, then I don't really know what is. Very excited about this pattern. Definitely interested in sewing it up. I think this would also be really cool to sew up in like a chiffon fabric, and then layer it with like a cami or a tank underneath. Chef's kiss, love it. Alright guys, and that is it for this video. If you have stayed this far in the video, thank you so much for tuning in. Tell me what you thought of the patterns in the comments below. Do you have any of these patterns? Are you now interested in buying any of these patterns? And until next time, stay beautiful and make great things. Bye!